Viewers and fellow Final Fantasy fans, this is Final Fantasy Fan 12 and welcome to another live stream on my channel. And once again, I am joined by Wolf10 Media over here from Wolf10 Media of the UN Spacey Wolf Squadron.
Now stand aside. I'm going to see my mother.
Uh, always with that one Sephiroth quote in Final Fantasy VII.
I just love that quote. Just it's just so out there.
Yeah, that was in Crisis Core, right?
No, it was in the main story.
Oh, that was in
Where
the original game?
yeah, it was in the original game where he runs up. Cloud ends up being a construct of Sephiroth, and he goes on to this long monologue,
Mm.
and he ends it with, "Now stand aside. I'm going to see my mother." And he just floats up above him and and flies above over him. Just 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 pieces out.
Yeah, I was thinking that was like prior to the events of the original Final Fantasy VII because I was thinking that was in Crisis Core.
Yeah, it's where you go to the place where he finds the notes and basically what amounts to Hojo's secret
Oh yeah, that's where he
identity.
learns about that he was an experiment all this time.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, but
If you get
yeah,
there early, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, as with was quoting what we were just talking about, yeah, we are talking about Final Fantasy VII, specifically the four interesting theories around Final Fantasy VII, specifically surrounding the lore and the story of Final Fantasy VII. And I pick four because, well, that's basically what it's around. Not about like if Final Fantasy VII is connected to the same universe as 10 is. I don't really believe that. It's just mostly that was just a thing from Final Fantasy X-2 with the character that's called Shinra, and that was just only there. I believe it's just only there just as an Easter egg, similar to the long trend of the many incarnations of Sid throughout the Final Fantasy series since Final Fantasy II. But nor do I nor about them the whole love triangle debate between Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith, because that's basically another debate as like who Cloud really loves. That's more so of not really a theory. That's more so of a debate than it really is about a theory. But so yeah, we're sticking to four specific theories, which I do have them listed. And one part I do want to start off first is about one thing that's mentioned throughout, or not mentioned throughout, but quite often throughout the game, that being the Promised Land. And the reason why there's actually a theory surrounding it is because it's left as more so as a mystery. Because in throughout the entire game, it's basically as much like a MacGuffin in the series. Because the whole purpose behind the Promised Land, for Shinra at least, is that they're just trying to find it because they think they're trying to get it just to get it to Mako because they think it's the most Mako energy there, so they can build a reactor there just for money. And they think Genova is the answer to one of them to that because they think Genova's a Cetra, but she isn't because she isn't a Cetra. She's an alien that pretty much brought about the end of the Cetra, or almost all the Cetra because
A
Aerith,
calamity.
yes, or Ragnarok rather. But then, as soon as they were not getting answers, they know one person that they know is a Cetra, that being Aerith, which Sung has been looking over for quite some time. And he knows, and they're trying to, but yet the whole thing is, Aerith doesn't really know much about the Promised Land, nor does she even know where it is. But it was said at one point in the game by one of the townsfolk, I forgot which town it was in, that where and it's even said throughout the entire Final Fantasy series, it's pretty much accepted that the promised land is not actually a physical place, but some sort of afterlife where the Cetra are now at soon after a lot of them have died and their spirits go on. Because when someone dies in Final Fantasy VII, their souls get to live on into the life stream, even though their bodies pretty much would disappear. That we see with Zack whenever they're just like reaching up to the sky when a hand is reaching out to them, they actually disappear. Which we saw this with Zack in Crisis Core, and we saw this with Kadash in
Kadaj.
Children. Yeah, yeah. But then that's pretty much become accepted. But then we go to the Temple of the Ancients, which basically explains the entire history about the Cetra in the hieroglyphics. Um, where basic, um, and this is basically where which is where the black materia is held there. And this is basically what Sephiroth needed in order to get the black materia to summon Meteor, so that he could have the planet's life force all for himself. And apparently, um, the reason why it contradicts that is because this is basically a key to the ancients, and this is basically where um, a lot of the Cetra would actually keep their own history there, and they think that's where a lot of them is at, but mm, not necessarily, because this is just basically where you can know all about their own history, but that's also where, for some reason, not really sure why the black materia would just be there in a place where you basically just know about their entire history. But it's still very much widely accepted that the Promised Land is still very much of an afterlife. But then Sephiroth, funnily enough, he thinks the Promised Land is actually much more of a place that you could just actually be at. And where he thinks it is at the North Crater. This happens after he's killed Aerith, where he thinks that the Promised Land is somewhere at the snowy fields in the north, which is where the North Crater is at, where the meteor fell. And this is the exact place where most Mako energy comes out of, which he's basically trying to do that just so he could use it to activate the black materia. And plus, that's where he recreated his body there at the North Crater where he fell into the life stream. Where he fell into the live stream prior to the events of the main game. But yeah, that's go ahead. Oh, if you want to say something, Wolf.
So where's the theory begins and ends?
Where does the theory begins and ends?
I'm just saying, what was the theory itself?
Well, it's really much of ambiguous as to like what really is the Promised Land, because it's been a bit of debate about that. Because it's widely accepted that it is an afterlife, and that's pretty much that. But then there's a bunch of contradictions that it's actually a place where they could be at. Example with the Temple of the Ancients, where basically all the Cetra's history that you basically search and where there's basically all of it where it's at, knowing about the history of the world, or just about the Cetra, as to how they created them, where they created the black and white materia just to create the cycle of death and rebirth. That's the whole reason why the black and white materia were made, especially in the remake. Um, but Sephiroth and Shinra believe that it is actually a physical place where you can actually go. Sephiroth believing that it's where they both believe where it's the most Mako energy it's at. Mostly, Sephiroth believes it's a place you could be at, specifically at the North Crater, because where it's where it can get most Mako energy to get that out of, just so it can activate the black materia to summon the meteor. And Shinra believes that it's still a physical place to find the most amount of Mako energy to build a reactor there just for money.
So in other words, a theory that we might as well just drop because it's mostly interpretation based.
Mm, yeah, rather true.
I always thought it was just Gaia, the version
Mm,
of Gaia from all across the Final Fantasy universes,
uh,
each and every one. It was always Seven's version of Gaia, where I always thought that once Earth died, she became Gaia herself. That's
mm,
why she could do whatever she does. In most cases, have had children, and I was wager even in this case, in the case of the remake,
mm,
that's what that's what they're that's who they're talking to, Gaia
mm,
instead of Aerith.
mm. I always thought it would be like more of the Cetra because their souls are just now there since all of them are gone. Since now that we've accepted, since it's still pretty much widely accepted that that the Promised Land is an afterlife.
I'll also add that it's it's also the reason why Aerith is behaving differently than she did in the original.
Hmm.
What's the next theory?
Well, since we actually mentioned about the Cetra, this is one theory that's pretty much that's been proven but not been proven, but it's kind of almost like a what if, almost like a what if. There's not really evidence for it nor evidence against that, and it's that are the Cetra the summons? And it's there's a lot of theories that there's been a lot of theories that if the Knights of the Round summon the Knights of the Round are the Cetra, but they can't just be the only ones since that's what most of the other summons pretty much are, because there's actually one of the comments that was made on the reason why actually I forgot to mention this. The reason why I wanted to discuss about theories of Final Fantasy VII is because I wanted to talk about this with my colleagues about this just to get their ideas, like what are their thoughts on the theories around the original FF7 and to an extent the extended universe of FF7 and pretty much the remake. And I got these four sets of theories on four videos by Death Unites Us, better known as 4A Productions, who's pretty infamous for a lot of content on Final Fantasy VII. And he's done few quite a lot of theory videos on Final Fantasy VII, but there are four that I picked out since they mostly surround the lore and the story of Final Fantasy VII. And so now with someone actually said that I do need to find that comment just to mostly just to quote from him. Um if I can actually find that video. Um if I can find it. I wish it I wish I would have just like saved it up there for one moment. For one of the tabs up there. um uh Sorry, it's taking me a while, guys. Oh, here it is. Wait, actually, it's in the comment in that video. Okay,
So we're doing four theories.
yeah, four theories specifically around those four specific theories that surrounding the lore and the story of Final Fantasy VII. We will talk about a bit of the extended universe and to an extent the remake because a lot of it can apply to it since they're remaking the entire Final Fantasy VII compendium anyway. But they will involve them to the extent because it's really just a reimagining of the original FF7. So now I found this comment that discusses about with the summons being the Cetra. Quote, it's it's by Kevin B in the 4A Productions FF7 theory. Cloud never got Mako poisoning a second time, which we'll talk about that one a bit later because I do have that listed. And it's this quote: there I've heard another interesting theory about the summons. Their origin is never addressed throughout the game, but they're used as regular materia, although there isn't much summon materia around. In the lore of Final Fantasy VII, materia forms from the crystallization of Mako slash the lifestream over time. Some of the most powerful materia in the game can be found in either remote areas which cannot be easily accessed unless by a submarine, airship, or gold chocobo, or places lost and forgotten. For example, the city and the temple of the ancients, which would indicate that some materia grows stronger if it's absorbing the energy over extended periods of time. What if the summoned materia was the embodiment of the ancient spiritual powers? It is told at some point in the game, some of them managed to fight and defeat Genova, most likely at the cost of their lives. If their spiritual energy did not vanish upon death, maybe they transformed into materia over time. Maybe that would explain why this specific type of materia is so scarce and so overpowered. So what it's saying is basically so what it's saying is with the Cetra, are the set asking the question of are the Cetra actually the summons? And to do this, we may as well look at some places as to where some of the materia are found within the entire world map of Final Fantasy VII by pulling up the map. Okay. Oh yeah, now you can actually see it. Just want to make sure. Like, looking at this entire world map, if actually get a full screen of the map. Okay, there we go. So, looking at the entire place of the FF7 map where most materia can be found, like in somewhere around like the Round Island, which is the only place where you can get the Knights of the Round materia. That's where it's actually found, or most places like most of the material, like in Nibelheim over here, where you go to the Nibelheim mansion to get Vincent by first unlocking a safe, which is where you could get the where you could fight the lost memory boss, fight the boss Lost Memory, as well as get Red 13's final memory, or not memory, limit break, lost memory, as well as the Odin materia, which is found there, which that's the only way you can actually find it. I forgot where Bahamut Zero was actually at. I thought Genova had the Ifrit materia in the past, but yet somehow that probably just like dropped it after you fought it once, or maybe there probably might have been some way that you fought, because it's been quite some time since I played the original. Um, I forgot where the Bahamut Zero material, where was it actually found at? But
I wouldn't be able to tell you because I'm not that far into the original yet.
mm, but so yeah, most materia is basic. And well, do you think? And now I'm done sharing the screen, but now it can be pretty cool that the summon that if the Cetra are actually the summons in the game, that the Cetra are pretty much, because the Cetra are really freaking powerful, right?
Yeah.
But then poses then now poses this theory or this question: what if the summons are actually the Cetra being embodied to the gods that they were praying to? Like, what if the summons were actually gods in the universe of Final Fantasy VII, that they were actually the Cetra were actually praying to, and yet soon as they died, they became the physical manifestations of those summons. Like one Cetra became Ifrit, one Cetra became Shiva, Bahamut, or like three Cetra became Bahamut, Neo Bahamut, and Bahamut Zero, the Knights of the Round many Cetra that became the Knights of the Round. Maybe it might have been a family. Would actually sound pretty interesting, though then again, it's a theory that's not really proven. That's proven, but also not proven. Like there's no evidence that are with it or against it, but still sounds cool. What do you think, Wolf?
I'm sorry, which one?
About like, do you think the summons are the Cetra, or do you think that they're actually the Cetra manifested as, let's say, the gods in the FF7 universe?
It can go either way. I always thought they were guardian spirits of the planet
Hmm.
that could counteract should the weapons go too far.
'Cause, I mean, designed to- well, yeah. 'Cause, I mean, the Cetra pretty much are a,
Also,
or no,
Darkstrider
not.
said you can get in Cosmo Canyon in the planetarium from huge materia.
Well, yeah, yeah, and I think that's where you get one of the Bahamut materia. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because when I played the original, I think it was at the blue materia, and I think that's where you get one of the Bahamut summon materia. I forgot which one it was. I'm not sure if it's the actual Bahamut or maybe a powerful form of Bahamut, like Bahamut Zero. Maybe it might have been Neo Bahamut, but I forgot which one. But it was a Bahamut materia. The first time when I was playing it for what quite some time ago when I was playing Final Fantasy VII, the original. But But yeah, the weapons were mostly just as designed. Oh, it is Bahamut Zero. Okay, thank you. It was actually Bahamut Zero. But but the weapons were mostly just a defense mechanism designed by the planet um when something should ever happen. Like the first time whenever like a Genova came in, when all the Cetra wiped out, that's when the weapons were pretty much made. But should Genova ever come back, that's when they would come back. But the Cetra, that's pretty much like their whole purpose. The whole purpose is to protect the planet. In fact, that was pretty much Aerith's whole thing, since she is a Cetra. She's the last surviving. She's the last Cetra that's around. In fact, the holy materia that she has, that she's always hidden within the ribbon in her hair that she didn't even know she had, that was actually the holy materia, which would explain that all of her limit breaks are actually revolve around healing rather than just being attacks that's normally played out in all the characters in Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty cool theory with the summons being the Cetra. Though then again, it's proven it's proven but not really proven because there's no evidence that is with it or against it. Because again, it's pretty much interpretation as to what really happens, like how the summons are basically what they are, whether they are actually guardians or actually the Cetra. But now, but now since we're now doing now let's get to a third theory. It's about actually sum this up in a question because I wasn't sure how to even phrase that, but it's actually how did Cloud and Tifa survives? Basically, how do they survive um the live stream without being induced with more Mako poisoning, and yet somehow make it out of Medeal pretty much unharmed. This is basically happens after the fight with Diamond Weapon, when Sid, who is appointed leader of the party, when Tifa decided to stay behind and stay with Cloud, um, but then suddenly Diamond Weapon comes in, and then there's a boss fight against Diamond Weapon, but then suddenly it destroyed all of Medial, and Tifa tried to get Cloud out of there as fast as possible, but Cloud could barely even function because this was straight after the events of at the North Crater, where Cloud goes to the North Crater to settle the score with Sephiroth, but has an identity crisis that what he was coming up with his own past wasn't actually his, but was just impersonating Zack. So now his mind was completely shattered, and then he hands over the black materia to Sephiroth at the North Crater, which then he then falls into the life stream, but at the same time, this also awakens the weapons. And so then Cloud could just barely even function. He couldn't even speak, but even if he could, he couldn't even speak properly. But he was left in a more um he's pretty much like in a more limbo state, like how he was in Crisis Core. Catatonic state, right. In a catatonic state, just like in the events, what happened to him in Crisis Core after what happened with Sephiroth prior to the events in the main game. Where after Sephiroth falls into the live stream, then Cloud just suddenly falls down, but then Zack and Cloud were experimented on by Hojo, and they were actually injected with Mako poisoning just as the test subject as test subjects to prove about the reunion theory, which Zack ultimately survived because the Genova cells would be pretty much immune to the Mako poisoning. But Cloud pretty much would have Mako poisoning since he never had Genova cells to begin with. Yeah, he never even had any Genova cells because he never made Soldier.
Yep. Never went through the treatment.
Right.
Because he never went through the training to get there.
Mm. Oh. Nice. Bahamut is from the Ancient's Temple, Neo is from the Whirlwind Maze, and Zero is from the HM, which cannot be obtained if you miss Neo. And which cannot be obtained if you miss Neo, which is missable in an unrevisitable for obtainment. Interesting. Okay. All right. So where was I? So now, wait, hold on. Hold on. Sorry, I thought I hear one of my cats. I'll be right back, guys. Sorry.
And now, a word from our sponsor. This would be a good time for us to have an Ishi timeout musical session. Raid Shadow Legends. Sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Nope, no Raid Shadow Legends sponsors because I am not getting my channel monetized at all. Besides, I'm not even touching gotcha games like that, even with a 10-foot pole. Sorry, it's just that my cats was just being needy. But anyway,
Oh, cute things.
Yeah, so now,
Are we moving on to the next theory?
no, because we're already on the next theory, which is about how Cloud and Tifa managed to survive after falling into the live stream. But then it was just talking about Cloud with how basically like what was happening to him, like he was left in a catatonic state, just like how he was in
Hey, normally what just chalked up as anime BS. or it's just fiction. They're used to this stuff since they can jump like 20 stories in a single bound,
Mm.
or even survive impacts against a wall. Not to mention that they can also cast magic without burning themselves, or much less electrifying themselves, or even turn their own selves into frogs.
I mean, well, we do have pretty much an answer, but we do have an answer as to how they actually survived. But but I was talking about is like how like what the hell was going on with Cloud, like straight to the beginning of the events of the game, like Cloud suddenly creating a fake pass for himself, but Tifa was being acting very suspicious of Cloud, but didn't call him out right away because she knows something's off too, but she's trying to figure out what the hell's going on with Cloud because she's witnessed all the events that happened, and she's just trying to piece together what actually happened. And so now, wait, Cloud was injected with Genova cells when he was being experimented on by Hojo, was he?
Yes.
Right.
Uh,
Mm.
he went through Mako treatment, if I recall correctly. They
Well, yeah.
I don't think they infused him with Genoa
Well,
cells. I think
yeah.
they went with just giving him Mako induced treatment.
Mm, yeah.
Because if I recall, if he had Genoa cells, then Genoa would be fucking with him. Excuse me, in his head by
You're
then.
right. Because you can be allowed to say pretty much whatever you want. You can say as much as you want as long as you just try to like.
Dark
But at
Strider
least,
doing the meme again. Yeah, she realized he was Italian. Ha ha ha.
um, yeah, you could say pretty much like whatever you want, but as long as you try to like, at least try to keep the swearing a bit to a minimum. You know, not to say that
Right,
you,
right, right.
not to say that you can't swear entirely. Like you could say pretty much as much f bombs as you want, but at least try to like keep yourself under control.
You know what, Dark? You might as well join us in this occasion since you're the you're the knowledge person. He said he did go through the macro treatment for
Yeah,
Soldier.
right. Because
Because there was no, in fact, I think the reason why he didn't get the Genova cells because at that point, Sephiroth had decapitated Genova, and I doubt that they could ever infuse the cells into him with a Genova that has no functioning head. So
mm,
they had to go with Mako.
right. Which then suddenly that which then part of that would bring us to the reunion theory. So the reunion theory, yeah, yeah, StreamYard hates tablets to no go. Yeah, that's pretty much the thing about on mobile phones. At least that's in my experience. The first time when I was doing StreamYard, excuse me, when I was on Wolf Show, is that it can work, but it overheats your phone pretty quickly.
Damn.
But anyway, so yeah, which would then something like that would bring us to the reunion theory. So basically, how the reunion theory would work is is basically part of Sephiroth's whole plan. For one, trying to recreate to try to use it to get access to activate the black materia to summon the meteor, but he's so then why is he trying to get the guys in the black robes that are saying reunion, which they do have tattoos on them, which they say a number which go from 1 to 13, because Tetsuya Nomura loves doing 7 to 13, and he never stopped using them in Kingdom Hearts either.
Mm-mm. Nope.
No,
Lucky number 7, unlucky number 13.
right. In fact, they were even used for. In fact, Sephiroth was a huge inspiration for Xehanort when you actually think about it.
Of course he's inspired by Sephiroth. No, of course his design will look that way. This is Xehanort. Look, it's like of course his hair is gonna look like that. Of course the final battle is gonna look the way it does, because Nomura will never ever let us live down the fact that he helped in Final Fantasy VII, which is probably the only Final Fantasy where he actually enjoyed working on.
I mean, well, most other Final Fantasy games that he did work on were actually influenced in there, like the synthesis system in Final Fantasy VIII. That's in there in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yep,
It's mostly a lot of the other Final Fantasy
the
games
reason
that,
why
yeah,
Cloud, freaking Squall, and everybody else that are fan favorites up to a point because of the recent Final Fantasies are in there because those are the ones that he intimately worked on to some degree.
yeah, with the inclusion of Setzer and Shadow from 6 and all the characters from 9, although Setzer only appeared in Kingdom Hearts 2 because that's the only Final Fantasy 6 character who actually appears in there because he made that character, as well as all the characters in Final Fantasy 9, which they chose Vivi of all people, surprisingly.
Yeah, VV was cool. Of course, you had Cipher and his crones.
Yeah, Raijin and Fujin, which for some reason they're around Roxas's age. For some reason. Hell, even
Nope,
Titus, Selphie, and Waka are around pretty much somewhere around Sora's age when we first see them in the first Kingdom Hearts.
they're kids.
Yeah. In
Of
fact, they
course.
go to the same school with them, with Sora, Riku, and Kairi.
Yeah, that struck me weird. The fact that we saw Kyrie and Selkie walking, but we never see Titus in his school uniform in Kingdom Hearts 2.
I mean,
It's
well, he
just us
probably
girls
does go
having a
there.
conversation. I know
Yeah,
he
he.
goes there, but it would have been nice to see him
uh,
because they were all together in the first game. It's
yeah,
like why not have them together in the second game like that? Vivi was there because even Nomura can't dispute that Vivi is a fan favorite character. He was my favorite, definitely. When I watched my cousin play Final Fantasy 9,
hmm
I really did like Vivi's design. But then again, I never knew that that's what the Black Mage's design was before Final Fantasy 9.
yeah,
It's like later on when I looked at other Final Fantasy games, I was like, oh, this design was always a staple in the Final Fantasy games. It was not a new
yeah,
gimmick
because
in
that's
Final
always been
Fantasy
a
9.
consistent look for the Black Mages.
Yeah, I liked it.
Eh,
It's kind of cool. It's kind of crazy how the fact that they're automatons
well, yeah, because they are.
in 9.
Yeah, because they are an entire race created by Kuja. I think even
Which
the Red Mages are.
I need to get back into Final Fantasy 9 as well. All the other all the classic Final Fantasies I need to get back into.
Mhm. Yo,
Take a
Final
day and
Fantasy.
just start playing
Yeah,
the
Final
Final
Fantasy
Fantasy.
16 is about to come out next month, and there's already a new trailer that just came out,
Yeah,
but still looks really freaking cool though. Anyway, back to Final Fantasy 7. So yeah, the reunion theory. So then, if Sephiroth is trying to use them specifically just to get to activate the black materia to summon the meteor, why would he need them anyway? Well, it's because the people in the black robes are have Genova cells, which Sephiroth basically could control them at their will, control them against their will, basically making them into puppets. And also, he can also use Cloud for that because he also has them too. But Cloud isn't a part of the reunion theory because he was a failed clone of Sephiroth, and he didn't even make it to the reunion theory. So that's why there is no tattoo on him because originally he was, but he didn't. And so, but Cloud was easily manipulated by Sephiroth, but he only used him. Sephiroth only used Cloud as a means to an end to give him the black materia. Red mages were normal people in Final Fantasy IX. Uh, the only other artificial race in 9 was Zidane and Kuja's people, the gnomes. Yeah, yeah, because Garland made them. Yeah. Anyway, um, so then he would need them. So yeah, he would manipulate Cloud as a means to an end to use him as a puppet to give him the black materia. So then he would need the the black robed people who say reunion to be this reunion. The reason why it's called reunion is because Sephiroth would use them to recreate Genova, which explains Genova synthesis at the end of the game. And so and so well, that pretty much got sidetracked, but actually, yeah. But so then, so yeah, after the fight with Diamond Weapon, yeah, after all this of the reunion theory, back to what now was originally on main track on the main track with this theory, with after the fight with Diamond Weapon. Suddenly, Tifa tries to get Cloud out of there, but he could even barely function after what's happened due to his identity crisis after falling into the live stream the second time, because he somehow makes it out unharmed the first time. Yeah, the first time he fell into the live stream. This is the first time he did Cloud. But and yet he wasn't actually completely um dis- decimated like how Sephiroth was when he fell into the live stream, even though his soul would have resided in there, but he, because the live stream transcends all space and time, right?
Yeah.
Mm. And that's how Sephiroth was able to will himself to recreate his body at the North Crater, but he also learns more about the planet, how the planet works, everything about the Cetra, which still kind of leaves a head scratcher as to what he would know about the Promised Land, into thinking it should be like more of an afterlife. But anyway, and so then now Cloud falls into the live stream, somehow is alive, but yet left in a catatonic state, like how he was in the events prior to Final Fantasy VII, where is which we actually do see in Crisis Core. But now he falls into the live stream the second time, and this time Tifa also falls along with him. And once again, when they make it out alive after exiting Cloud's subconscious and trying to actually fix find Cloud's true identity, is to actually try to fix him. So now Cloud is now actually himself again, is no longer pretending to be a replacement for Zack, like be in place of Zack. We actually do have an answer as to how both he and Cloud actually survived after falling. And it's actually from a novella called The Maiden Who Traveled the Planet, which you can actually listen to the audio of that on livestream.net's YouTube channel. And it basically answers the question as to how Cloud and Tifa survived after falling into the live stream in Mediel. Is that soon after Aerith died, her soul resides within the live stream, and as soon as Cloud fell into the live stream the first time, she actually saved Cloud, and that's how Cloud was able to make it out alive. And the same thing with the second time that happened to him when he fell, and the same thing with Tifa. And they were, and that's how pretty much the spirit of Aerith, but yeah, Tifa mainly, but also Aerith's spirit are able to fix Cloud's subconscious, and to actually fix Cloud is to try to make him himself again. So that pretty much would explain as that exactly how they actually survived.
Eric's an angel. Good to know.
Yep. And so that would pretty much explain now this theory. Now we have pretty much now the last theory, this fourth and final theory. Pretty much what everyone else has been scratching their heads about with oh, that's William Silva, how you doing? Um this is where everyone else has been scratching their heads about ever since beating the original Final Fantasy VII, the ending, the 500-year time jump, where we see an older Red 13, excuse me, and two cubs standing on a cliff, and and as the camera pans, we see a completely mossed over Midgar, and yet the reactors are not even active anymore. And as soon as it fades to black, and then we see the Final Fantasy VII logo, the last sound that we hear in Final Fantasy VII is children laughing. And a lot of people say that this is the Armageddon theory, and they thought that, wait, didn't the humans die? Like, we didn't even, like, everyone else would try to, like, actually try to save the planet, and now they said, oh, we didn't even know that we've done it. Like, we thought that the humans were dead, even though that would pretty much prove otherwise because of the laughing children that we hear at the end of the game before the game resets after seeing the logo after Red 13 suddenly howls. And so, taking place 500 years, and we see Red 13 here in the in at the end, and taking place 500 years, it's very much safe to say that that everyone, all the cast that we know in Final Fantasy VII is dead. Well, minus two exceptions, of course, Red 13 and Vincent, because he's practically immortal due to the experimentations on experimentations on him. But everyone else in the main cast of Final Fantasy VII, everyone in Shinra, Marlene, Yuffie, Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, Sid, Keiichi, they're all dead. Because there's no way they would even survive after
You
500
know,
years.
I would love to see a story of Red 13 and Vincent traveling the land after 500 years.
That would pretty much be interesting, yeah.
Just
But
going through the world, just like exploring, old locations like Midgar, large, huge materia, um, Barrett's Town. I forgot the name of Barrett's Town. Cold Town, I think.
I think it was, yeah. I need to pull up the FF7 world map again. I shouldn't have,
The planetarium, like
yeah.
his old old village, and he's
Yeah,
confronted
Cosmo
by,
Canyon, yeah.
yeah, Cosmo Can. He's confronted by his own species sometimes.
Yeah,
Something like that. I would love to see at least like a light novel or a
yeah.
manga depicting their adventures together.
Hmm.
Like
But,
as soon as you mentioned that, it's like that's a thought that came to mind just now.
yeah. But, but as to why we see, like, a mid, a Midgar that's now, completely mossed over, and now that we know that basically it's just now a bunch of the extended lore about Final Fantasy VII, like after that, then we had On a Way to a Smile, which is the novel of Final Fantasy VII, because Final Fantasy VII had pretty much a lot of novels with its expanded universe. On a Way to a Smile and The Maiden Who Traveled the Planet, which is one that I mentioned in the last theory a few minutes ago. And so, not to get perverted, but what about the theory on Cloud and Ortifa due to high exposure can't reproduce? They've they've done it, yet Nata after seven nada, and Tifa is now is now taking orphans. Meanwhile, that's kind of a thought that just ran through my mind after 500 years. Like, are Cloud and Tifa ever pretty much even going to are still going to be on good terms after Cloud being obsessed with so much of his work, like what he saw during a Strife delivery service in Advent Children?
That was kind of a symptom of the geostigma, though.
Mm,
He was trying to get, he was trying to hold on and try to be productive to keep his mind off of it.
mm,
But at that point, it's like this, like the strange symptom of geostigma is depression until you
mm,
succumb to it, or you succumb to whatever entails the sickness does to you.
right.
It's
And
like
so,
no hope, no future, no purpose. And then the sickness spreads and it becomes.
Yeah,
daunting now when you're stricken with the depression of it. What are you gonna say?
right, right. Um, but yeah, but that would be pretty much interesting to see exactly at uh that mark in Final Fantasy VII after that 500 years after the original, which would be about how many years after Dirge of Cerberus? Because Dirge of Cerberus takes place in year 10, which that would be 2010 at our time. Because Final Fantasy VII takes place in year 7 because of allusion to the number 7, which would be 2007. So then how long ago would that be? At least around 400 years? 400 years after Dirge of Cerberus, you think?
I can't math.
Hmm,
I'll have to take your word for it.
it probably might be. But, the reason why they call it the Armageddon theory is because they thought everyone else is dead, like the human race is already dead after the meteor exploded, which we pretty much saw otherwise in Advent Children. But then again, it pretty much proves otherwise because again, the laughing children that we hear, which is the last thing that we ever hear in the original Final Fantasy VII, when it fades to black and we see the logo, and that means the human race is still very much alive. But I don't think it's because but yet I think it's because that there's nobody on Midgar. Like Midgar is just now like um not even useful anymore. Since now Shinra's gone, there's no one left to. They can't even create a new society there. Since what else are they gonna do? I mean, they can't even really much of escape in a town because it is a big city. Because where will they even go? I mean, unless if they already like made like she started to be brave enough to actually start traveling around the world in Final Fantasy VII. Like maybe they started going to Calm because it is not too far off Midgar. But then they probably might explore other continents. Like maybe they would go to Junon, Cosmo Canyon, Gogaga, Nibelheim, Wutai, anywhere else in other towns throughout the world of Final Fantasy VII. They start traveling the world, and now they actually now have a place to live instead of living a city life in um in Midgar, you know? Even with some people who live the underground in Midgar. And don't forget Lucretia is still alive. Yeah, since she can't die and she made it clear that she's tired. I mean, well, yeah, cuz her body because she's trapped in a crystal. Yeah. But do you think that also might here's it. Oh, you're about to say something, Wolf?
Check out Williams' comment.
Hmm. Just think just think them not having kids and Tifa taking in orphans. It's just Japan's obsession with not having the main characters have kids, but have kids. Oh, she's. Oh, oh, you mean been tired? Oh, you said tried. Oh, you said it's clear that she tried. Oh, I misread that. Sorry, Dark Strangers. And she made it clear that she can't die. She clear that she tried. Oh cause she tried to kill herself because of bringing forth Sephiroth. Right. I sorry that I misread that, Dark Stranger. Um, but yeah, um here's an interesting thought that actually now occurred to me just about the 500 years. If Vincent and Red 13 were to travel around the world, and let's say if we can go with the notion that if Cloud and Tifa actually did have kids, which now that I make it the fifth theory that was not really listed, but now I'm going to be breaking one of my rules that I've said earlier about the whole uh, love triangle debate with Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith. But um, do you think we might actually see um some of the descendants of most other characters, like say with one character who might be the descendant of Cloud, or someone who would carry the legacy of Cloud, or something like that? Like, what do you think would go? Where do you think it might go?
I would love to see legacy characters from Final Fantasy VII for sure. If that story ever was pursued,
Hmm.
I would dare I say I wouldn't mind a descendant of Tifa be a boy that could punch rocks and stuff really hard, you know.
Hmm.
Or like say for
Yeah.
instance somebody can model Barrett's gun as a big cannon. Like
Hmm.
even Easter eggs or callbacks to characters of old.
Yeah. But then what would be a new threat?
Uh,
Since it can't
you
be
know,
Sephiroth anymore, since he's already lived like 3 times. Like the first time he
well,
lived, yeah.
considering what happened in Dirge of Cerberus and with those guys, you could say Anjo could come back as as a vengeful spirit of justice, or in his twisted sense of justice.
Hmm.
Could say that.
Hmm. Like if he managed to like will himself will himself back alive, like how Sephiroth did.
Mm-hmm. Dark Stranger said, "Hopefully not a strawberry blonde stuck-up bee dressed as Cloud named Lightning." Ha ha ha.
Uh,
I mean, I w- I wouldn't mind Final Fantasy 13 being a spiritual successor to well, he's like a
2-7.
continuation to seven. I would
I
like
mean, well,
that would be it. That'd be quite interesting if that was like the descendant of Final Fantasy 7.
yeah, because everything in Final Fantasy VII's plot is pretty much the hit points are there. Everything in Final Fantasy VII, everything else is just yeah, everything from Final Fantasy VII, the hit points there. That's a lot of it is in 13, even within the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But even though Cloud was still kind of a bit stuck up. Yeah, because
Oh yeah.
Cloud was still a bit stuck up because he kind of really didn't give a shit about anything in the first place, or at first anyway. But
I would say Squall still beats him on not giving a fuck
yeah,
in his own way.
pretty much, yeah.
Squall Squall is kind of detestable for the first part of 8 right now as I'm playing it.
Hmm.
But you can still influence how he you can still influence how he responds, so you can be less of a dick, which is also pretty cool.
Well,
Like a lot
yeah,
of people like to write him off as being a dick first and foremost, but the way how you respond in 8, it all depends on how you respond in 8,
yeah.
which can definitely affect his character. A lot of people, it's easy for people to just write him off as a piece of shit,
Well,
but
yeah,
it's all depending on how players play the game mostly.
right, yeah. But anyway,
Is there any more Final Fantasy related content you want to talk about? That's 7
Final
related.
Fantasy VII. Yeah, um,
What about that love triangle you
I would.
keep bringing up?
Well, yeah. Even though I brought that up twice, I did say that I was not going to talk about that because that was more of a discussion thing
Mm-hmm.
among fans, not much of a theory. But then now, since now people are bringing that up in the chat, that as to thinking like what would happen like after the events in Seven, where suddenly Cloud and Tifa might have children. Think if they ever might got together, because I didn't really think that, because I thought Cloud was just already so much like almost like a workaholic because of the events in Advent Children. But no, that was just because of the geostigma, because of how much he suffers
It's up to you
greatly.
if you want to believe in the geostigma being the symptom. I was given that as to why he as a reason why he was being that way. Like
Right?
he
Yeah.
wasn't picking the phone up when every time people called him,
Yeah, because
and she keeps reaching
he
him.
suffered greatly from survivor's guilt a lot, mostly
Hmm.
just from the deaths of Aerith and Zack, because he felt like he could have prevented that from happening, but he really couldn't. He just felt powerless to do any of that.
Yep.
But so now I'm gonna be breaking one of my rules that I said at the beginning, because you guys really could not shut up about it after we mentioned about the trying to explain about the ending of Final Fantasy VII, is the whole love triangle debate as to who Cloud really loves. This whole love triangle between Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith.
There should be no debate at all.
Yeah, a lot of people say that I never really got the impression that Cloud is in a romantic relationship with Tifa. Well, yeah, he did it to impress. He joined soldiers just to impress Tifa because they've been friends for quite some time. They are
And he's a
childhood
guy.
friends. Yes. Um, but the reason why I never got that off is I just got them as just as friends. And
Platonic
it doesn't,
friends, yes.
yes, and it doesn't mean that they are, it doesn't mean that they're just, what was I about to say? Um, dang it. Now, it doesn't mean to say that they don't care for each other. They certainly do. They're friends. But as a romance, I never saw that from ever happening. Aerith, not necessarily either. Aerith pretty much got, Cloud started having to grow feelings for someone again, thanks to Aerith, because of how much Aerith was reminding Cloud so much of Zack, because of how much he's been being in place for Zack.
Yeah,
But
she was sex to begin with anyway, so
yeah, and yet even when we go on a date with Aerith at the Gold Saucer, she asked Cloud as to who are you really, because even then she knows that that's even then she knows that Cloud didn't even do all that, because she's just now being reminding him of Zack, but Cloud doesn't even remember him, at least at first.
right.
And yeah, I just never really saw that, because I thought, because since of Advent Children, I always thought of just Cloud as just now that he's being a workaholic, like he's just always being like this now just this lone wolf character. Well, it wouldn't even help because of that wolf medallion on his pauldron and with his new outfit. But I don't know. Like, I'm not really a shipper by any means, but Wolf, what do you think? You think Cloud was actually does now have romantic feelings for Tifa? Well, actually, yeah, they did actually spend the night together in the original game. They actually became intimate. They actually did become intimate with each other in the original, but yeah,
Hmm. I answers that question already. So
yeah. But yeah, I think that's oh, my guy before leading the final battle when the others left to build their morale for what they were fighting for, and Tifa and Cloud were alone, it subtly implied they. Oh
Bow
yeah,
chicka wow wow.
yeah, that was actually in one of the it during the development, but they actually did make out, but yet um Yoshinori Kitase, the director of Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII, he directed that too. He actually gotten rid of that because that felt that was more too extreme, especially being a bit more in the M for mature side than keeping it to the teen rating. So then so then at best we got is just them just being actually sharing a moment with each other because the game itself was already tying itself as
Here they don't really show it. It's implied that they had thing. They did the thing.
well, it's just that they were intimate because I viewed it like in Star Trek TNG in season 1. It's just that um Data Data and Leo or not I don't know why I thought Liara. That's Mass Effect. What was her name? What was her name? Was the season 1 character that died and never made it to the other seasons?
Tasha.
That's right. That Data and Tasha, they were in a relationship, and they actually did have feelings for each other, not because they boned, because they were
Right.
intimate. That's how I viewed that scene with Cloud and Tifa in the original, and very much in the yeah Tasha Yar. That's how I very much viewed it in the original. It's very much going to even play out in the remake too. Um,
I don't know what they're gonna be doing with the remake at this point. It can go either way still, and I'm not even cool with the idea of what they're gonna do with reunion already. Well, actually, I already done Crisis Core reunion, but like there's something else that's abound after reunion. That
like
one character with white hair, short white hair, looking like a King Hearts character.
mm,
I'm like,
I
who the
very likely
hell is that
assume that
supposed to
might.
be?
I assume that might be like a younger Sephiroth,
A good young Sephiroth?
like when he was still like being like a when he was still like
Ooh,
during his time in Soldier.
ooh. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's who I thought that might be. Like, yeah, it's just like a younger Sephiroth. Like his time still at Shinra. He might have like aged a bit more quickly now.
Mm.
Yeah, he probably aged a lot more quickly given that well, he's an alien. Half human, half alien anyway.
Hmm.
But yeah, because yeah, I was about to say that the game was very much about was all around about tying up loose ends with they always have like a beginning, a middle, and an end with this because they're all tying up tying up loose ends. Cloud now actually Cloud is now finally himself again thanks to Tifa and the spirit of Aerith. In fact, he kept Tifa's promise that they'll actually be there for each other. They'll actually protect each other. So then Tifa and Cloud actually spend the night together. Barrett actually, well, he did succeed on trying to protect the planet because that was his whole goal since he became the leader of Avalanche. Uh, Vincent finally got his revenge on Hojo for what he did to Lucretia and what he's done to him. Red 13 and Yuffie have reconciled with their respective fathers, and Reeve slash Keiichi actually had their redemption arc at the Temple of the Ancients, and Sid finally achieved his dream going to the base and reconciled with Shara. So, but then left the question, which brought me back to the last theory, which was originally about to be at the last one, but then left to this one. As where will it go after 500 years? Even though we already answered that. But uh, yeah, that's pretty much Actually, you want to know some more interesting thing? Um, on here, like they left off in Dirge of Cerberus with Genesis coming back as a cliffhanger. Really, that would be something that would be more interested into seeing for Final Fantasy VII if they actually continued off of Dirge of Cerberus. That now Genesis actually came back for the main villain for another Final Fantasy VII title, and maybe that can actually give at least some people some closure as to tying up
There's no
loose.
time for sleep, brother. Carrying off Weiss the Immaculate. You know, some of the the
Oh yeah, they
elites that
actually. Oh yeah.
well, some of the elites that the elites that introducing in Bouncers, the second book,
Mm, yeah.
they're based off of the villains from Dirge.
Yeah. Which they appear in Yuffie's DLC in the remake out of all places.
Yeah,
Even
I
though
don't
there's
understand that.
like out of they chose to bring them back for the remake, even though they're associated with being Vincent's villains because it's in his game. But yet they brought him back in the DLC with Yuffie. In
He's not
fact,
even
the
he's
cloak
barely
that
even
Yuffie
introduced
wears.
in the remake proper. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, you're okay. In fact, the cloak that Yuffie wears in her DLC in the remake, that's from Dirge of Cerberus.
Hmm.
Because she actually wore that.
Really shows what they're really doing with the series itself. S- That's why I'm not really gonna partake in it that much, cause
Mm,
or at least I don't want to partake in it.
mm,
I may try Crisis Core Reunion though,
mm.
since it's available for Xbox.
Oh yeah, but I kind of have some mixed thoughts on that. Mainly due to mainly it's just because of the voices. Because they try to remake it as trying to remake it into the FF7 continuity. Because Cloud and Sephiroth and Tifa's voice actors from the remake, they're actually in there in Crisis Core Reunion. Yeah, only Weiss and Nero. Yeah, those are the only. Yeah, because they were the central villains in Dirge of Cerberus anyway. That actually did appear in Yuffie's DLC in the remake, FF7 remake integrate. But yeah, that's pretty much everything else that I would pretty much discuss. I would discuss pretty much a lot about the remake, but eh. Well, what I'm actually still a bit interested as to where it'll go in the remake, but couldn't bring myself to play it. But yeah, that was a bit of an interesting talk.
I'm kind of with you on the voice acting too,
Yeah.
especially especially with Sephiroth's voice actor. I
Mm.
he's good for what he is. He's good at what he does. It's just not as it's not as good as George as
As
Super
George
Mario.
Newbern. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because I know he was the same voice actor who voiced Captain America in Ultimate Alliance 2.
Hmm.
That's how I know about him. I forgot what he was,
You
but
want to sound heroic and leader like? Always hire George Newborn.
um
Said, well, not really. The central villain was Scarlet.
oh well yeah, in the FF7 remake interlude integrate, but I meant like the main villains in Dirge of Cerberus, Weiss and
Oh, right.
Nero.
That that woman. That. Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah,
You do
in
not.
fact, that's where Larxene came from, was from her,
Oh God.
because
Larsen's a saint compared to Scarlet.
I mean.
Hot take. She's a saint compared to Scarlet.
I mean, can
I
you
don't
not?
even know that much about Larcene, but I just know that she's way she's no worse than Scarlet.
I mean, the only reason that if Larxene is a saint when she's actually I think Arena when she's actually her real name, because I'm trying to remember her real name, because we actually do see her in Union Cross, which explains all the events of the Keyblade War in yeah, way before the events of the first Kingdom Hearts and Birth by Sleep, because it plays during the events of the first Keyblade War. Because we see her real self as well as Lorian before he became Marluxia. But I think that's basically where you think that's where she is actually a saint. But when she's a nobody, very much Scarlet, like Scarlet.
Yeah.
Same attitude, same behavior. Yeah, everything, all that.
Still, she's still a saint compared to like story and plot wise. Man, I'm so glad Tifa slapped her. Just straight up just bum rushed her after what she did to Barrett and dying.
I still question why a slap fight though.
Hmm?
And I still question why it would have to be a slap fight though.
Because it's a cat fight and they're women and they have to fight with slapping.
Well, I mean, well, I mean, I get it that Scarlet's not much of a fighter, but Tifa certainly is.
I mean, that would be just overkill on her part. She has to face justice the proper way. So of course, she obliged to a cat fight.
Sometimes Final Fantasy VII can be freaking weird.
Darkster says, in the remake, they'll mud wrestle in the nude. Ha ha ha.
On top of a cannon.
Yes, on top of a cannon. Make it happen, Nomura.
They're on top
Yes.
of a cannon.
So,
And the scene would still pretty much play out like how it did in the original. Or probably just
or
might have
maybe
been a
the
fight.
or maybe they'll or maybe they'll put a Hot Shots Part 2 where they do American Gladiators.
I mean, it still could have just been a boss fight. Like, she
You
just
have
could.
not seen Hot Shots Part 2, have you?
Sometimes I just cannot believe you.
So you have.
No. And I refuse to look it up.
It was just a pseudo dramatic scene between two female characters, and like the work, like she goes off of the horrible things that this person did to her, and and they make it sound like it's so sensual, like it was a forbidden lesbian love quest, but like as the witness that was witnessing it, like she says bungee jumping, and he's like bungee jumping. It's like it basically amounted to she tied her legs together with a bungee cord, and and now she's stopping her because she's a saboteur that's been getting all their American soldiers captured by Saddam Hussein, and like as she's running, they're running through an American Gladiators obstacle course, and they're doing the then at the time American Gladiators theme song for it. they're just go they're just going through the motions until it boils down to that usual hacky sack stick fight thing. And she ends up she the good guy girl ends up knocking her off,
Here
and
we
she
are just
falls.
talking about Final Fantasy VII, and yet here we are talking about gross wrestling, cat
Well,
fights.
it's not really a wrestle. It's just a American Gladiators fight that's supposed to be like a joke on the female cat fight. It's like Mel Brooks really knew how to sell a joke, an elaborate joke, and the production value is just amazingly crazy on how he was able to pull it off, because it it will only make sense to people who's ever seen American Gladiators. Mind you, Gladiators has nothing to do with what they're talking about. But I just like the fact that the cat fight boiled down to American Gladiators. That was the joke. The joke was The joke was it's a cat fight, but it's done via American Gladiators, and I loved it. Even as a kid, I loved it. I had no idea what they were talking about at the time when I was a kid. Now as an adult, I do was like, man, that was
Where did I put that? Oh.
hilarious. Me and the wife was watching it one time, and I was just cracking up.
Oh, now,
Is that
now you're now you're done.
yes?
Okay. Usually that's a joke that plays up on Wolf's channel, but now here I'm trying to talk about this, and just because Stefan and we're now talking about a Mel Brooks movie. um, yeah, that's about pretty much about everything about that we could talk about by far about Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
But this was a bit of an interesting talk.
You need to watch Hot Shots Part 2.
I mean, well,
And while you're
well,
at it,
I
watch Part 1.
yeah, I do have the Mel Brooks collection that my mom just got my dad for Christmas 2 years ago. But
Does
yeah,
it have Hot Shots Part 1 and Part 2?
it should be. Yeah, it should have it.
Because if not, that's a total travesty. You
Yeah,
need to
but
watch those.
but yeah, that about does it for this video. But but that about does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, click like and subscribe and share with your family and friends. And make sure you ring the notification bell. That way you get notified of our latest videos. Go subscribe to Wolf 10 Media's channel if you haven't already. And go subscribe to Wolf 10 Media's channel if you haven't already. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Final Fantasy Fan 12 signing off. And remember, may the light forever shine upon us.